At it again. All right, seeing a place to be. Rick Saratella, like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything football. That's what we do here on the State of Football. You're home for real football talk in the mornings, broadcasting live here at the Jersey Shore, around the universe. Here, celebrating 2 decades of independent scouting analysis over at the NFLDraftBible.com, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Make sure you check us out over at SI.com for all your pre and post and live real-time draft coverage. It's here, 2 days away from the 2022 NFL Draft. It's unbelievable. Albert Breer and myself will be providing you with updates again over at SI.com. Make sure you check that out. NFLDraftBible.com. We've got a new mock draft every day of the week. We'll have an updated final top 100 later on today. I'll have my mock draft dropping before Thursday, and it's on to 2023. That's what we've been spending a majority of time here doing, is getting our 2023 pecking order and scouting department hitting the ground running. I mean, we're already a couple hundred scouting reports deep for next year's draft class. So go to NFLDraftBible.com. We've got over 600 scouting reports for this year's draft and beyond. Today is probably going to be my favorite show of the week because we have the legendary ball coach Bob Wiley joining us here today. Going to talk about his cool clinic coming up. And of course, to do that, we also have Keith Grabowski from the Coaching Coordinator podcast. You want to learn some football? These two guys are it. Of course, Bob Wiley, NFL, CFL, college coach. I mean, 40 years of coaching excellence. And of course, Keith Grabowski, over 8 million downloads, the number one podcast for football coaches. So we're going to learn a lot of knowledge. We're going to learn about the Cool Clinic. Maybe we'll get a NFL draft war room story out of Coach Bob Wiley. I know his old friend Hugh Jackson now got the head coaching job at Grambling, and the HBCUs making somewhat of a comeback with the coaching splashing hires there. Maybe we'll pick his brain on that. We also have Isaiah Likely, big play Coastal Carolina tight end, two-time All-Sun Belt. He's going to join us here on the State of Football in about 10 minutes or so. But first, we're going to dive into the FCS level once again. We had our FCS Spotlight special yesterday. Big shout-out to Ralph Ventry, Craig Haley, Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. What a fun interview that was. Make sure you go back and check that out. We also discussed some top 10 NFL draft scenarios. How about Trayvon Walker becoming heavy money coming in on Trayvon Walker now to be the first overall pick? He supplants Aiden Hutchinson, who looks like he's going to be landing with the Detroit Lions. We'll try to mix in some of that later on in the show. But first, Villanova tight end Todd Summers on the hotline joining us here on the State of Football. Good morning, Todd. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, no, we appreciate it, man. You talk about a guy who's ready on the spot. I mean, we just booked Todd about 15 minutes ago, so we appreciate it. Shout out to Agent Vincent Nicholson over there at 919 Sports Management. And you guys are coming off another CAA championship and, really building a strong program at the FCS level. So let's start right there, Todd, with all the great success that this Villanova program has had during your tenure there. What's the secret sauce? Why do you think you guys have been so successful?
We had a lot of success this past year because of our leadership and we had like 6 years on the team. So my class, we were the old guys in the locker room. We've been around for a long time and just a lot of experience. And we really put in the hard work in the off season, and it gave us where we wanted to go. We won in the regular season, but we were happy we finally got one against JMU to give us the CAA share. And then we had a little run in the playoffs, but didn't go as far as we'd like, though.
Yeah, but, still a strong season, and Villanova turning out some NFL prospects. You guys have a handful of players that scouts have been checking out, including yourself. We'll talk about some of your teammates later on. But I had a chance to pop in over to the Test Football Academy a couple months ago. I saw you out there working out, training. Take us through that process. What is it exactly from your perspective, as opposed to studying the playbook, preparing for an opponent? How was this process for you different?
Oh, it was crazy different. I wasn't expecting it to be like this. They told us like the first couple of days, they're like, guys, like we aren't training for football right now. This is completely different stuff. We're just going for speed and cutting right now, and that's all we're going to be doing for the next 8 months during the time at test. So I saw tremendous improvement in every category. My pro day numbers were a lot better than whenever I started there. But Gare, Kevin, and Vance and Tony really helped with everything. They were great. There's nowhere else I'd rather want to train, and it was great. They have several NFL guys coming back to help work with us, doing workouts on their own, and then jump in on the field work. So we're getting advice from guys who've been there, been in our situation. They have first round draft picks there to undrafted guys, so they really have everyone you can talk to.
Yeah, and Gear Guntmussen is the combine director over there. He's also an offensive lineman at heart. He just got inducted to the Albany Hall of Fame a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so I know one thing that Gear likes to do is work on blocking. So, Todd, I know you're somebody who takes pride in your blocking. And, what is the balance like? How much positional work did you do? And what are some of the areas of your game that you're kind of working on trying to improve upon here?
So there, I would be able to. I was lucky enough. I was able to go to the offensive line work before workouts, do the workout, and then right after we'd go throw at the outside or at the bubble. So I really learned a lot. Pass blocking. It was him and Coach Rich Schroebert from the Giants. So it was great having both of them. They were helping me because I think the biggest improvement I made there was my pass blocking ability. They were really helped on technique because at Nova I'd usually be out in the pass tree getting involved with that. But that was definitely the biggest improvement. He helped me a lot there.
Yeah, Coach Rich Seibert. He's always hanging out down there at the Test Football Academy. Two-time Super Bowl winner, I believe, with the New York Football Giants, and definitely a good man to learn from when you want to learn some blocking techniques. Now, we're talking to Todd Summers, Villanova tight end. I'm pulling up the measurements here. Looks like you came in at 6'5", 253 pounds, 76 and 3/8 inch wingspan, 30-inch vert, 9-foot broad. Todd, that's a pretty good frame, man. 253. Is that what you played at? Is that bigger than what you were during your college days? Is that where you want to be for the NFL? And what are you weighing today?
My senior year, I got to school. I was really skinny. I was a basketball player out of high school. I didn't know I was playing football. Whenever I got to college, I was probably like 215, maybe. Probably told the coaches I was like 230. Lied to them a little bit there, but it's all right. But my senior year, I probably was right around 255, somewhere between 245, 255 in that area. But 253 is where I'm standing at now. I weighed in yesterday, and I feel good at that weight. So if I put on a couple, lose a couple, I'm okay with that. As long as I'm in the 250s, I feel good.
Yeah, and when I saw you, it looked like you were still able to keep that athleticism, some of that explosiveness, as we see in the chat room. Biz Cliz chiming in with your Penn State leaping play, showing off that vertical game. So tell the listening audience at home or the NFL scouts who are tuned in that might not be familiar with your game. Give us the skinny, straight from the horse's mouth. I always like to get the self scouting report when an NFL team pops in your game film. Todd, what are they going to see?
So the first thing they'll see watching our film, Villanova used me everywhere. I would line up number one. I'd line up in the slot. I'd be in wing. I'd be a tight end. I could line up fullback. So I have the ability to line up anywhere, and I feel very comfortable in both the run and pass game. I was lucky enough to have Coach Bowden as our offensive coordinator, who really allowed me to play the way I like to play. So he threw me the ball outside. I'd fullback for Cov, leaving it, be connecting the line, doing a team with the tackle. So I really felt comfortable doing everything. And I think that's shown on film. I'm able to line up anywhere and be a part of the run and pass game.
Todd Summers, Villanova tight end, with Rick Saratella here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Todd, we're getting closer here to the NFL draft. We're just 2 days away. Have you gotten any feedback from teams? Were you able to get to any local days? What's the process been like since the pro day? Or, it's an anxious time, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like a whole month or 6 weeks that go by where there's not a lot happening. I mean, what's it been like?
A lot of unknown, but I've had a couple calls with some teams, a couple interviews, so it's been great. Vincent, my agent, Vincent Nicholson, has been great helping me out. I'm meeting with him, I think, tomorrow to go over his final thoughts and everything. But I've talked with the Texans, the Jets, the Colts, and Dolphins so far. So hopefully I can just get a chance somewhere and be able to show what I can do.
All teams who could definitely use a quality tight end. So we'll be keeping our ears peeled. I know Vincent Nicholson will you'll be in good hands with his services, and I'm sure he'll keep us posted. Uh, Anything else you want to tell the listening audience at home, the Villanova fans, all the fans and supporters in the chat room? Any parting shots here for the people before we let you go?
No, thank you very much for having me on. This has been great. I really appreciate it. And keep your eyes on Villanova this year. They're going to surprise a lot of people.
Hey, well, I lied then because I always got to get some feedback for the next year. And we didn't mention your teammate, Christian Benford, the cornerback, Forrest Rhyne, the linebacker, Justin Covington, the running back, all on the NFL radar. So Villanova, whether it's day 3 or after the draft, you're going to see a bushel of signings. But give me what you mentioned. Keep an eye on Villanova next year, and I certainly will. Give me a player or two for next year we should be watching, Todd.
They have a lot of experience on the O line, so I'm going to give you some O linemen, the offensive side of the ball. So Colin Gamroff's the center. He's a genius. He'll call out every defense. He's been like a 3-time CAA player, all CAA. Michael Corby was All American this year. His story's crazy. Turned to a walk on to All American. And then our tackle, Nick Torres, who's like 6'8, 310, big body up front. I'm sure you'll be able to hear about him next year. So I think
All
they'll
right,
have a lot of success in the run game and keeping Connor Watkins' jersey clean in the backfield.
nice. So it sounds like the offensive line is keeping those Villanova cafeteria workers busy over there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, Todd. Well, hey, we'll be following your path to the next level. Are you a social media guy, by the way? Can fans follow you on social media? Do you post pictures and stuff like that, or not so much?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not too active on there, but I have them.
Well, drop the
Todd,
handle. There you go. The super producer Samantha put it up. It's
Todd
at
underscore
Todd.
Summers 11.
All right, there you go. Keep it locked. FCS Small School Spotlight. Name you need to know. Todd Summers, Villanova tight end. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Big shout out again to Vincent Nicholson for hooking that up last second. We had our FCS Spotlight show yesterday and ran out of time. Wanted to get Todd on there, flying under the radar, just 2 days away from the NFL draft. You heard he's spoken to about a half a dozen teams. We're communicating with Isaiah Likely's agent in the chat room. I know an NFL team just called him, so he's on a call. We'll have Bob Wiley here in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll squeeze on Isaiah. He's wrapping up a phone call. I don't want to pressure the man, Samantha. You're rushing him in the chat room. Like, let the man handle his business over here. Rick Saratella over here now on the NFLDraftBible.com. Again, Bob Wiley, Keith Grabowski joining us here at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Of course, Oakland Raiders, Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, Tampa Bay Bucks, Cincinnati Bengals, Chicago Bears, Arizona Cardinals. Oh, by the way, you want to head north of the border? He coached in Ottawa, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Brown, Holy Cross, Ohio, Colorado State, Syracuse. Man, I think coach is officially retired, and we'll ask him about that. But I'm watching these spring leagues sprout up, and you talk about team building. Man, what I would do to have Coach Bob Wiley on my staff. This guy's been part of a team building process at the college level, at the NFL level, at the CFL level. Some of the teaching lessons he's given us and provided us are things that, some things that you don't even think about. And Coach Wiley's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. So I'm excited to chop it up with him. Okay, Isaiah Likely is ready. Here we go. Coastal Carolina tight end. Boom. There he is. Two-time All Sun Belt, Football Writers Association, all pro team. Isaiah, Likely. Good morning. How are you today, man?
Real good. How about yourself?
Oh man, this is good. It's turning into a tight end show. We just had Todd Summers on from Villanova, another tight end, and now we transition to Coastal Carolina tight end Isaiah Likely. A lot of people believe could be potential top 100 selection. So Isaiah, it sounds like your phone lines are lighting up as well. Have you been communicating with a lot of NFL teams leading up to the draft? What's the feedback you're getting?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's all just been good things. Just a blessing to be able to talk to those teams and be able to try to help their organization.
And you've gone through the draft process, the All-Star game process, the combine process, the pro day circuit. I would imagine between all your travels and journeys, you've probably spoken close to all 32 teams, whether it was formal or informal at some point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nice. And so what in your eyes, I have an idea what you can bring to the table, which is a dynamic pass catching threat in this magnificent air raid offense going around the NFL. I did some digging. There was 8 or 9 NFL tight ends on rosters last year that got 90 plus targets, which has never happened in the league before. That's over 25% of the league. And it seems like every team is trying to find that mismatch weapon in the passing attack at the tight end position. But for our listening audience at home, I like to get the scouting report, the skinny, right from the horse's mouth. When the NFL team pops in your game film, describe what they're going to see, Isaiah.
You're gonna see the most versatile tight end in this class. You're gonna see a kid that lines up at the X, that lines up at the Z, that lines up in the slot, the F position, that lines up in line at the Y. And you're gonna see that kid that's just always around the ball, whether it's in the run game, in the passing game, is really trying to take that step forward and let the team win. You're gonna see a kid that got unmatched big play potential, that could take a hitch for 80, or you could take a post ball for 60. I mean, wherever the ball is, wherever we are on the field, I have the capability to go to the distance and go for 6.
No doubt. And I saw you came in at about 6'4", 240 pounds, prototype size for the next level. Is that what you played at Coastal Carolina? Is that where you want to be at the NFL? Where are you in terms of weight? Because I had you last time I checked right around 240.
So when I came into the combine, so I did my drills, I did everything in the combine at 245, and that's usually what I play at, 6'4.5", 245.
Okay, and then I didn't get a chance to peep your pro day. Did you also do all the testing again at the pro day, or did you just do positional? How was your pro day experience?
I did everything at pro day, but I mean, at the end of the day, I highlighted that I am a football player. I mean, numbers is numbers. I look at those with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, teams are recruiting me to be on the field and show what I could do on the field as a football player, and I've done that on film every game since my freshman year.
Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina tight end, two-time All Sun Belt here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. And so, Isaiah, you were kind of part of this Chanticleer's movement. We had your head coach on before the season. He was rocking the mullet, man. You guys are just cut different. I spoke to Todd earlier, and they had success at the FCS level, but you guys being a mid-major and having all this success at the FBS level, I mean, what was the secret sauce there? What were the key ingredients?
I'd really just say team chemistry and highlighting the minor details. A lot of people don't know, but the year before, we had this preach about 24. And that's because out of those 7 games we lost, 5 of them was a combined of 24 points, where we could have been at 11-2, but we ended up being at 5-17. So just highlighting the minor details in the offseason and really just having everybody harp down they're there because they want to be there, not because they have to be there. And just doubling down on little things and loving your brother along the way, and realizing that every game we was going to go into, we was going to be the underdog. So the only thing that could possibly happen that everybody, wished for was us already losing. So to shock the world and just being able to win almost every game was just a blessing in itself.
No, I love it. That's great stuff there. And Coach, man, he seems like a spark plug. I mentioned we had him on
Really.
the show. I mean, he just seems like a lot of fun to play for. What's he like behind closed doors? Is he like what you see, what you get in terms of his press conferences?
100%. I mean, Coach Chow was the best. I mean, what like you said, what you see is what you get. But I can tell you, like, when Coach Chow trusts and loves you, he'll go the extra mile. Like when he actually trusts you on the football field and you understand your responsibility, not only your assignment, but what everybody else has to do. Sky's the limit for what he'll let you do on that field.
And let's talk a little bit about your journey to the draft, sure, but how about your journey to Coastal Carolina? What led you to put your trust in making that decision to go play ball there?
Really just coming up under recruiter from up north. I mean, I had 3 FBS offers from UMass, Southern Miss, and Coastal, but I had every FCS offer you could think of. So really just, taking in my first official visit to Coastal and seeing the team chemistry, seeing what they had building, and then just seeing how the coaching staff loved the players off the field and understood that that's like where you want to actually grow up and become a man, and not only on the field, but off the field. And then coming back to my family and them surprise visiting the rest of my family that didn't come up to the official showed me that, yeah, they care about me on a whole different level than every other team showed me. So just, doubling down on Coastal and just put me at this point here.
Yeah, and I think you're from Cambridge, Massachusetts, if I remember
Cambridge, yes,
correctly.
sir.
Is that the home of the Basketball Hall of Fame?
Yes, sir. Ewing. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So did you grow up a basketball fan? Did you play
Oh
basketball
yeah,
too? Being
up north you got to play basketball, especially
from-
especially in Cambridge. You can't go down the street without dribbling the basketball.
I was gonna say, I bet they got pickup games all up and down
Yeah,
the
all
blocks.
around, all around.
So I'm from Jersey. I'm from the Northeast, and I'm familiar with the Boston area. But paint the picture for those at home who might not be familiar with the area. What's it like growing up in the Cambridge area?
It's to me it's a blessing because I'm a city kid. So you hear trains, you hear beeping, you hear horns at 7 a.m. So like those are your alarm clocks. I didn't grow up listening to really just having Siri or setting alarm clocks on the side. You grew up to, okay, the train's going off at 7:10. That means I got to get up because it's ready for school. But you see trains, you see cars, you see stoplights, street signs, and then I go in all the way up, all the way down south, and it's just land and quietness. So it was a whole different abundance in itself.
No, very cool. Isaiah Likely here, Coastal Carolina tight end, and we're winding down. I wanted to just get to a couple things. I believe you're signed with Clutch PR. So take us through your agent selection process, and then tell us also where were you training leading up to the combine and your pro day workout.
So I took really picking out my agency the same way I picked out Coastal. And Clutch gave me everything I needed to see just in front of me. I mean, they have a great team. Coral helps me out every day. Chantel helps me all the time. And Bilbo and Kelt, they really just make sure my head's on straight, especially Corey. Just making sure my eyes are always on the prize. Whether I'm stressed out about the Senior Bowl, about the combine, they always be able to tap in and connect with me and let me know that, I mean, I'm here. I mean, it's a blessing to just be here and always to remind myself that the dream is no longer a dream, it's reality. So that's definitely something that Clutch has helped me, be able to see in the near future. And I thank them every day. And then I trained at MJP with Coach BMAC, Coach Jay, Coach Kev, and had help from their team. And just they really just helped me in the whole draft process. I mean, going to the Senior Bowl, being able to highlight the things I do well at the Senior Bowl, and then at the Combine, being able to top it off. So it's just all a blessing in itself.
Doing it well, doing it big. He's Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina tight end, and big shout out to Clutch. We appreciate all their help behind the scenes, and Chantel working overtime all the time. Parted shot here for the NFL teams at home. Any decision makers, scouts, GMs who could be tuned into the show? Isaiah, tell evaluators why you're the best tight end in the 2022 NFL draft?
I'm the best because there's no other tight end that does what I do with the ball in my hand or even on the field. I mean, my versatility is unmatched. My big play potential is unmatched. And there's just stuff that I do that you just can't coach, whether it's being able to learn the offense on a whole nother level, just being able to be that versatile tight end. You got to know literally what almost everybody on the field is doing. So just my football IQ in itself stands against none. And then really just being off the field, that leader aspect. I mean, I finished college with a 3.5 GPA. So just having those young kids be able to hop up on the boat and really just let me be their leader in that big brother aspect and help them along the way.
Great stuff there from Isaiah Likely. Any draft day plans this week, Isaiah? You're going to keep it low key? You're going to have some family and friends over?
Just be with my family and friends and just
there you go.
Smile and might cry a little bit, but
well, hey, you deserve it with all the blood, sweat, and tears throughout the years, man. We'll definitely be excited to see where you continue your playing career. Just know if it's in the New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia area, I got you covered with the eats, man. I'll get you acclimated real quick, all right?
Got you, my man. I appreciate it.
All right, there you have it. Isaiah Likely here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network here on Sports Illustrated. I am your host for today's festivities. All right, seeing the place to be, broadcasting live from New Jersey here at the Jersey Shore, live around the universe. And Samantha, we got to take a quick break here so I can refill the coffee mug, please. Maybe you can cue up a commercial break. We're going to come back, chop it up. It's been too long. I think we spoke to him last year around this time, draft week. Legendary offensive line coach Bob Wiley coming up with coach and coordinator podcast host Keith Grabowski right after this.
Another Sunday showdown where fearless fantasy tycoons forego the camaraderie of team and embark on teams of their own.
On, yes! Let's go.
Nobody cares about your fantasy team, Todd.
Hey!
Maybe nobody used to care about your fantasy teams, but those days are over.
Told you people care about the Todd Squad.
Think bigger, Todd. I'm talking about a national fantasy league with teams representing cities and states and managed by fantasy experts who are beholden to us. We're their stakeholders.
I used to be holding a beverage.
Yeah, and then you got chop block, Todd. Offsetting penalties. The point is that we don't have to go mano a mano anymore. Hermanos, sports are more fun when experienced together. And fantasy should be no different. So we'll stake a team, Dean. We'll huddle with our crew, Sue. We'll even DM our GM, Liam. Just like Jerry Jones. How do you like them apples, cowboy?
You have piqued my interest.
Good, because now we can pick the team that we want to run with, the GM that we want to back, the roster that we believe in, but don't want to manage. Because, well, I mean, we all got a lot going on, and some of us have jobs here.
Jobs? Forget it. He's on a roll.
So finally, we can watch our players and discuss our strategy and trash talk our opponents as we watch our fantasy football team together. And if we win,
It's like the fantasy version of fantasy.
no, it's the Hall of Fantasy League, where fantasy becomes a team sport. Are you guys with me?
Yeah!
Introducing the Hall of Fantasy League franchises. The Philadelphia Powder Kegs, the Chicago Hog Mollies, the Boston Barflies, the Vegas Pocket Kings, the Atlanta Hot Wings, the Texas Yallers, the Seattle Haze, the Ohio Goats, the New York Bodega Cats, the LA Sidekicks. Don't miss out on your chance to take part in a new era of fantasy sports. Stake your team today.
How has FitGamer changed and impacted Cloud9? I mean, honestly,
Cloud9, North America's best international team, are headed back to Worlds.
the difference between the teams that actually win or lose are the teams that are going to actually have the stamina and still have like a sharp mind through that event. Prior to having FitGamer's exercise routines that we've been doing, my players around Game 5 would get tired and lose. What's happened with the training that we've been doing, we are now, when we get to this Game 5 situations, we're the team on stage that has energy, we're the team on stage actually is sharp, and we're the team that's raising the trophies. The FitGamer app helps you not only track on your everyday workouts, but we travel a lot. So while we're traveling, we can kind of pinpoint how our players are doing, how our managers are doing. They can report what their sleep is like, they report the nutrition, and it gives us the ability to catch patterns that are not good early and address them and fix them. And our training routines, training up along both, has resulted in us lifting trophies at the end of the day. And for me, that's what actually matters.
Back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Rick Saratella, like it is when it comes to the NFL draft, just 2 days away, and everything football. It's your home for real football talk in the mornings. The State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated, presented by NFLDraftBible.com. We got you covered front to back, upside down, and inside out. We'll tell you what it's all about. Over 600 scouting reports for 2022 and beyond. If you're tuned in, watching the live stream, whether it's on the website, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you may be, you saw the Fit Gamer promo there. We have the new esports website coming on si.com. Keep a lookout for that this summer. Of course, our new sister site over on si.com/college/UConn. It's the UConn Huskies website. Head coach Jim Mora changing the culture. It's the Husky Revolution. I'm hoping to have Coach on here one day this week so we can talk about him diving back into coaching. Now 60 years old after a 5-year layoff from UCLA. He's already made some big recruiting moves there in Storrs, Connecticut. So hopefully we'll have Coach Moore on this week. We've got heavy hitters all throughout the week, but today is my favorite day of the week, and that's because we welcome in the legendary O-line ball coach, Bob Wiley, here on the State of Football, along with Coach and Coordinator podcast, Keith Grabowski. It's a roundtable discussion. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing today?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been too long since I spoke to both of you guys. I'll start off with you, Coach Wiley. I know last time we spoke, you were coaching up north. Samantha tells me, did you hang up the cleats? Are we calling it a wrap, or you still got the itch?
Oh, no, I still got the itch. I am not. I didn't go back up north. Matter of fact, I don't know. I shouldn't announce it because it's not my place to announce it. But I'm going to coach next year for sure. So
okay.
I'm always excited. I've been doing it. Last year was my 50th year. 50 years of coaching between Pop Warner, junior high school, college, football. All right. And I still get excited when I'm walk on the field or I get with the players. I still get that on game day. I still get those little goosebumps that you get, like when you kiss your first girlfriend and you get those little goosebumps and stuff. I still get that feeling. And so it's a passion, and I don't feel the passion going away. I really don't. I really enjoy helping the young players and helping other coaches and the things of that nature. I like the Cool Clinic. The Cool Clinic, 40 years. This will be the 40th year. The Cool Clinic, and I've been to every one of them. And we've helped over 12,000 coaches. And I think like 3 years ago in the draft, I can't remember exactly. 3 years ago, there were 8 first-round draft picks that were offensive linemen. All of their line coaches, right, come to the Cool Clinic or get the Cool Clinic videos or DVDs every year. Okay, so I want to think that we had a very small part of stuff that we've given out that falls through and goes down through the ranks, and all of a sudden you see it show up on Sundays, which is kind of exciting for me and the guys that were in the first six. There were six of us when it first started. Jimmy McNally obviously was in his office down in the old spinning field under the 8th Street Viaduct. Right, there was Paul Alexander. There was myself. There was a young man named Freddie Mariani. In fact, he's a New Jersey, Long Island. He lives in that area of the country. There was Jake Hallam, God rest his soul. Okay, and none of us can remember who the sixth guy was, but there were six guys in that room.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the Cool Clinic, 40th year of the Cool Clinic, talking about football, the definition of a football lifer, 5 decades in the game and still loving every second of it, as does Keith Grabowski, Coach and Coordinator Podcast. If you're not familiar, over 8 million downloads, the #1 podcast for coaches and coordinators in the world. And we welcome him into the show. Coach, we know, your involvement last year, you kind of brought the Cool Clinic virtual experience with the whole pandemic. And I think this year now are we making it? I know last year we talked about, will it be both virtual and in person? What's the plans this year?
Yeah, we kind of got up to that point where we had to make a decision and it was in January when Coach Wiley and I talked, and there was just too much up in the air to go and commit and pay all the deposits for the hotel and all those kinds of things. So like a lot of the clinics we had this year, we went virtual again. So we'll be able to deliver that around the world like we did last year. Certainly in the future, we hope to be able to do both, right? Have that great live session that people enjoy coming to in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then being able to get this out to all the people who just can't make it or are across the globe, and that's what's been cool about this one, is that I forget what we counted last year, 6 or 7 countries that were a part of this, and just a very unique experience.
Well, and I think that's the most important thing, is that last year, more people than ever before were able to get this experience with all the speakers subscribing online. And if you're watching at home, you see the link scrolling there. Coolclinic.com is at the website, Samantha. It's going down May 19th through the 21st, 2022. Keith, give us the website where people can go register.
Yeah, I believe there's a link there at coolclinic.com, but you can also go to cool2022.coachesclinic.com, and you can access it there as well. So either site is going to get you there, and it's a great lineup. I know when we started talking about this and doing it again, Coach asked me, what do you think would be some unique things we could add to this to make it even better? And that was kind of a rhetorical question because Coach had the answers. But I was really excited with his ideas and what we added to it. For example, we're going to kick things off with John Gruden, and his topic is what I look for when hiring an offensive line coach. Moving into some other areas. I mean, this has always been offensive line guys, but now we have the defensive side with Mike Waffle, who continues to be Aaron Donald's personal defensive line coach, and being able to learn a little bit about the body mechanics of what's happening on the other side and what you can do to counter some of those things. And then Coach also brought in Kyle Caskey, a running backs coach, but a guy who's an expert in pass protection. And as you know, like fitting that running back into the protection and being able to pick up everybody is crucial. So I think it gives some unique perspective to, offensive line play when we're able to hear from him. And then Coach also has Craig Doman, who is a mindset specialist, talking a little bit about just, the mindset that your offensive line needs on game day. So, on top of that, just all the great ones and what's, I think this is the only clinic where you're going to have the Super Bowl champion, the national champion, and the Grey Cup champion, just like we did last year.
Talking to Coach Keith Grabowski, Bob Wiley here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated, presented by NFLDraftBible.com. And if you're watching at home, Samantha, let's pop up that link that Coach Grabowski just provided us as well so people can get in on the action. Coach Wiley, this is another star-studded lineup that you've assembled here. I'm looking at the website. Looks like you sprinkled in some new guest speakers, a little bit of the old with a little bit of the new this year.
Well, I always try to bring in the guys that were essential in starting Jimmy and Paul and myself. You know, we're the three of us sitting in that room, and where we've taken it from where it's the beginning to where it is now. And we're always willing to share ideas. That's one thing about offensive line coaches. We share ideas. It doesn't matter who you are, what level you're on. And I always tell, like when we were together in Cincinnati, right? If you have a question, okay, and you need the answer to it, I mean, you can get the answer to the question you have if you're at the clinic, okay? Now, obviously it's virtual, but you can still get your questions answered, all right? And I think it's really a unique. I think it's the only one like it on the planet. All right, I don't think there's not anything else around that compares to what we do. The one thing we would we go out when we try to get, like I had Joe Thomas last year. Okay, who's a great individual. He's probably a better individual when he was a football player. Really fun to coach and really fun to be around. Okay, but we got Willie Anderson this year. Okay, and let me give you a little insight to Willie, and tell me if you recognize
Who's looking very lean and skinny, by the way, recently, Coach.
Yes, that's what happens. Wait, I wish the coaches could get lean and skinny. The Kevin Green, Michael Strahan, Reggie White, Chris Stolman, Julius Peppers, Jason Taylor, Terrell Suggs, Richard Dent, Jared Howard, okay, and Charles Haley. Okay, what do all those guys have in common? Okay, all those guys, Willie Anderson played against all those guys, and not one of those guys got a sack. Right? That's quite unique in pro football in itself. Okay, that should put him in the Hall of Fame. Right? Just that stat right there with those guys. Okay. Now, wouldn't you like to have a chance to sit down and talk to Willie about his perception, or whatever his view, how he sees it? Okay, on pass pro, Willie was another guy who was fun. He didn't say a lot. Willie didn't really say a lot. Okay, he wasn't, but he played a lot. Okay, and you can learn. And everybody says, "Well, he's a pro player." It's all relative. I don't care if you're a Pop Warner guy or if you're a 10-year-old pro football guy in the Hall of Fame. Okay, you can learn. Okay, and it's all relative of who you're playing against, how to block the guy, because the body. And I said this before. I think you guys have heard it. Man's been on the planet for 200,000 years, right? The body still works the same way as it did 200,000 years ago. It hasn't changed. The joints still work the same way. Okay, now we may look different. Well, maybe some of us do. Okay, than they did 200,000 years ago. Okay, but you only can put your body in certain positions to make it function the way it should function to block the guys in front of you, right? So, I think we offer some unique things in the clinic.
No doubt about it. Coach Bob Wiley, Coach Keith Grabowski here with Rick Saratella on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated, your home for real football talk in the mornings. And we had semi-breaking news. Coach Bob Wiley will be back on the sidelines next year. You'll have to stay tuned for where he'll be coaching, but we're excited about that, Coach. And, I wanted to ask you a question, in fact, because you talk to a lot of the scouts around the league and you watch the gameplay on Sundays. I think one thing that's really down across the league is the quality of offensive line play. And I think it's a correlation, you tell me, of the readiness of some of these guys coming out of college. There's so much air raid, spread, shotgun based offenses. I mean, some of these guys don't even put their hand in the dirt. I mean, you got centers who have never snapped the ball with the quarterback under center. Would you agree with the sentiment that players today need more coaching up coming out of the collegiate program? Has the proliferation of these spread attacks kind of watered down the coaching technique and quality of these players?
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I coached in the Senior Bowl, and we had a quarterback, like you were saying, that had never taken a snap on the center. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, you get down to the goal line. There's some things that they do in that spread, running done, and all that, those type of things. You got left with tackles that, even guards that never put their hand on the ground to play. Okay, so all that has to be taught to those kids when we first get them. We can't take anything for granted anymore. That, hey, they know this. No, hang on. Okay, let's just start from the beginning and let's take you through it. Like you were just a young pup. So I really believe because they're looking for a way to get the edge, and if to get the edge is moving the quarterback back, to the shotgun position, so he doesn't have to drop back and look at the coverages and do stuff like that. Okay, and they want to play as fast as they can. I mean, some people. I was just talking to a coach yesterday. Called me up about playing. How fast they play. That they play so fast that they can't teach everything. Okay, they can't get them to see everything. Okay, and they're just hoping that the speed of the game negates some of the stuff that the defenses can do to them. All right, so I think football evolves. Think of football from 1869 to where it is tonight, correct? 1869 was the first game. Princeton, Rutgers, all right, and look at where it is today in the NFL stadiums and the billion-dollar enterprises and the stadiums that hold 115,000 people, on game day. Football, it's still evolving, and that's one of the greatest things I love about the sport is that I'm still learning the game. Okay, and I've been doing it for 50 years. Now, either I'm a lot slower than the other guys, okay, but the game just keeps moving on. Okay, but I think there's some fundamental things in the game, okay, up front that you have to put those kids through to understand, how the body works, how does it work in relationship to how I need to block the guy in front of me. Here's a good question. Here's a good something to think about, and people can chime in and you guys can discuss it. Why does the ball move? Why does the ball move up and down the field? Now, if you put the ball on the 50-yard line, okay, the ball moves because, right, somebody didn't do their job. That's why the ball moves. Somebody didn't do their job. Somebody didn't cover a gap. Somebody didn't cover a receiver. Okay, somebody missed the block, right? The ball moves or it doesn't move. Why? Because somebody didn't do their job on the field someplace. If you put the ball on the 50-yard line, okay, right, and everybody did their job, the ball would stay on the 50-yard line. But the ball moves because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do or what they were coached to do. Okay, right? So the ball, somebody doesn't cover the A gap, the ball slips into the A gap. Somebody doesn't cover the receiver the right way, and their ball's moving down the field. Receiver blankets the corner blankets the receiver. Okay, and the quarterback throws a pick. Somebody didn't do their job. Okay, that's why the ball moves. Unless somebody can give me a different reason, right? So if you could just teach them to do their job, okay, the plays and everything else fit in. They come, they come. They happen. It just happens because you're doing your job. People don't think of the sport that way. People don't think of the sport that way.
Well, Coach Belichick.
Somebody messed up.
Yeah, well, Coach Belichick believes that, right? That's his. Just do your job, right? Is it nothing more, nothing less?
You don't, and and I really learned that from young Josh McDaniel years back when I worked with Josh. You know what I mean? Do your job. It doesn't. We never ever talked about making plays. We just do your job, guys. Do what you're supposed to do.
Well, and that's what you get with the Cool Clinic. Again, a virtual experience, thecoolclinic.com. Make sure you register for that, and you'll hear from some of those great speakers like a Dante Scarnecchia, a part of that Bill Belichick staff. And, the list is so star-studded. I know last year, Coach Grabowski, you guys put together a bundle package where you can kind of pick and choose your courses or get all the courses. Will you have a similar offering for the Cool Clinic as well this year? Can they combine last year's seminars with this year's seminars? How can they sign up for all that?
Yeah, we most certainly will. And one of the things we've been working on with Coach Wiley is a subscription, right? Coach Wiley last year sent me like 88 DVDs to get converted. I mean, this goes back for a long time on the Cool Clinic. So, not only the last 2 years here, but a chance to access all that historical content too. And it is, I mean, you go through the Cool Clinic is the who's who of offensive line coaches in the history of this game. The best offensive line coaches, some still with us, some who have passed on, and just again, incredible lineup, incredible talks. So much you can learn from that. I mean, if you're a coach, not just an offensive line coach, if you're a football coach, that's something you need to access and understand. These guys are sharing the details of what makes things work in football, passing game, running game. It all starts up front, and it's always a treat with these guys. I know last year, the first night we had Herb Hand went for longer than he was supposed to because he was the last speaker, and that fired up Coach McNally. And Coach McNally wanted to know how long you could go. I said, Coach, there's no one in the room behind you. And, he started off his session with, boys, we're going to go all effing day. And I edited that from what he said, but he went 4 hours, just about 4 hours last year. And Coach McNally will show you the film. I mean, if he needs to demonstrate something, he'll block anything, right? Waste paper basket in his bathroom, he'll block that thing. Like, it doesn't matter. Coach is going to demonstrate that stuff for you, and still one of the most knowledgeable guys on the game. Stays on top of it, still out there studying the game. And I mean, that if that guy who's one of the most knowledgeable ever is still out there studying the game, that tells you how complex of a game this is, and what you need to do to stay on top.
Yeah, and I mean, coming from you, Coach Grabowski, you've interviewed every coach in the world, it seems like, on the Coaching Coordinator podcast. But yeah, we're still all learning. In fact, I just learned the other day in doing some research. I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. But I couldn't find any other time in modern day history where this happened. And I went back and I checked all 32 teams in the NFL last year threw the ball over 50% of the time, all 32 NFL teams. And I couldn't find a single season in NFL history that's ever happened before. And Coach Wiley, I want to get your perspective on this because I'm an old school philosophy guy where, hey, give me a solid ground attack and a stout defense, and we can win all day. And you look at the trends in NFL history, it usually all comes back around again. And I was a believer that, hey, eventually the offenses will trend back to the running attack, but I'm not so sure. Like, I think the passing style of play might be here to stay. Do you believe that, Coach Wiley, or do you think that these are fads and trends that work in cycles? Everybody's trying to be the Rams offense now, right? Is that going to be here to stay, or will we get back to a running game?
It may circle itself again. You really don't know. The Howard Mudd, God rest his soul, I was really close with Howard, and he would tell me it's a passing league. Now this was 30 years ago. He said that 30 years ago. He said you're gonna have to throw the ball and get chunks of yardage throwing the ball. Okay, somewhere in the course of the game, the ball's got to go down the field. You got to get chunky yardage, and I think I believe he's right. Okay, and people sometimes we don't talk about some of the other things that surround us. Is that you put all those people in the stands, and you just keep running the ball 45 times a game. Those guys didn't come to see that. Okay, they want to see the ball go move down the field relatively quickly. They like the big passion plays, the excitement in it, right? So that adds into part of it too. How much it does, I'm not quite sure. Okay, but they like to see the ball go down the field quickly. Okay, and some of the stuff that there's a lot of great young minds that come up with a lot of the stuff that you see in today's football. Okay, and the defensive coordinators eventually are going to slow it down and stop it. Okay, people say no, they'll find a way to slow it down and stop it, and so then it'll start to slowly turn. How many years it takes, who knows? It's going to start to slowly turn back. Okay, the other way. And I think a lot of it has to depend on who's taking a snap from center. That kid right there. That one guy makes everybody better. Makes the offense better, makes the defense better, makes the special teams better, makes the whole team better. That one position. I mentioned this last year. I think I can't remember. There's been 56 Super Bowls now. 48 out of the 56 Super Bowls have had Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame quarterbacks playing them. So if you don't have one of those guys, okay, it's going to be tough to get to the February game. All right, so that one position, that one person, whoever that is, how many guys are in the league that can do that now? I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got Mahomes, you got Brady. I mean, you don't have a ton of guys, right, that can go out there and get you to the February game. I personally believe that you got quarterbacks that'll win you 5 or 6 games, right? And best they're going to do, those guys are going to get you fired, right? Then you got quarterbacks that are going to get you up into the 7, 8, 9 game range. Okay, they may get you into the first round of the playoffs. Okay, and that's the best they're going to do. It's not the whole thing. Andy Dalton would be a great example of that. Now he's going to get you up until the first. He can win you 8 games, 9 games. He's going to get you maybe to the first game of the playoffs. Okay, and that's about as far as he's going to get you. Okay, and then you got the other guys, the Rodgers and the Mahomes kids and the Brady's and those guys. Okay, they're going to get you to the February game. They got a chance to get you there. Okay, and then the second level down guys that are still learning. Okay, the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows, the Herbert kid over in San Diego. I mean, they they got a chance. Now they've only been in the league a few years. Now maybe Josh has been in 4, I guess now. Okay, but they're going to have a chance to get you to the February game. Okay, those guys. So there's not a lot of guys, and if you're going to go out and look and do something, who's taking the snap from center? Who's that guy? Okay, maybe that guy, Trent Dilfer, would be a great example of a quarterback. Okay, that if they won the Super Bowl, but why did they win the Super Bowl? What you were saying, okay, Rick, what you were saying, they had number one defense. They played great defense, right? And who did he have? He had a good running back. He had a great tight end. He was a tight end. He had Smith at receiver. Okay, Trent didn't have to win the game. He just didn't need to lose it. I mean, he's surrounded by enough talent, right? The offensive line was a good offensive line. Those type of things. So, how you putting it together, but who's the guy that's taking a snap? And then you make your decision. How are we going to make this work?
Such a good point. Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. That's the common denominator. I wasn't aware of that, but you're absolutely right. 48 out of 56 quarterbacks, Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame. Trent Dilfer, there's a couple exceptions. Brad Johnson wasn't a world beater, but he had that Tampa Bay defense, right? I remember Phil Simms went down. Jeff Hostetler stepped in. I think in '91 they had O.J. Anderson and that stellar defense, right? So, hey, Coach Grabowski, I don't care what anybody says. Give me a good ground attack. Give me a solid defense. I'm a big believer we can win some football games that way. But give us
Right.
at home, some of the insight and speakers again for those just tuning in. They might not caught the top part of this interview, and we'll post it up on the NFLDraftBible.com on Sports Illustrated in its entirety. But give everybody at home the website once again if they want to get on board. May 19th through the 21st, the Cool Clinic. Hit them with the details, Coach.
Yeah, it's cool2022.coachesclinic.com for this one. If mistakenly you end up in last year's website, there's a redirect there for you. But again, an incredible lineup starting on Thursday night, going through Saturday afternoon. Just running everybody down there. We start things off. We have blocking mechanics with Paul Alexander, pass protection, twist pickup, and independent hand punches with Jim McNally. What I look for when hiring an offensive line coach, John Gruden. Fundamentals in the gap schemes, Kevin Carberry from the Rams. Teaching and drilling pass pro 3, 5, and 7 drops, Andy Heck, Kansas City. 5-man empty protection, Joe Philbin, Dallas Cowboys. Integrating conventional run concepts and techniques into an option offense, Brent Davis from Army West Point. Inside zone fundamentals from Ron Crook, who was with Cincinnati last year and one of the Final Four teams. Grouping your schemes, how to simplify your teaching from Georgia Bulldogs national champion, former offensive line coach there, Matt Luke. A really up-and-coming, I think, offensive line coach, and Cody Kennedy, who's at Arkansas, talking about gap scheme combos and GT counter or a 3-man surface. Willie Anderson talking about the evolution of pass protection, using analytics and developing the offensive line. Steve Palazzolo from Pro Football Focus. And Steve spoke last year, really some eye-opening statistics, and he shares so many great things that really make you think about what you want to do offensively. Mike Waffle, defensive line coach, NFL alumni, pass rush, body mechanics. Craig Dahlman, sport attorney and mindset coach. What is a pro mindset? The mindset that separates the Gold Jackets from the rest. Exotic pressure pickup schemes, Kyle Caskey, running back coach, the NFL. And techniques and adjustments in the zone running game, Marty Costello. And then I know Coach Wiley always prepares something. Last year it was, what do you tell them when the ball is dead, right? When the play's over. So I never heard it talk like that. Like, how do you communicate? What do you want them to know? What's the process in between that whistle and the next snap? And, I thought that was incredible. And, just the insight from all these guys coming at it from different angles. There's so much you can pick up here.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's the attention to detail. It's the things that coaches aren't coaching. And whether you're an aspiring coach, a veteran coach, if you're a college player, a youth player, an aspiring pro player, I mean, these courses are designed for everybody to learn and get better. And you mentioned Steve Palazzo from the Pro Football Focus. Had a chance to speak with him on a panel at the Combine for Sports Management Worldwide. And you're right, he brings a whole different kind of analytical perspective and percentages and data and how that kind of trickles into decision making. And you mentioned Craig Doman, a friend of the show, who also, I wanted to ask you because I know you're like the 6th degree of separation, man, Coach Grabowski. And I was going to say, I know some way, shape, or form you're kind of related to the draft somehow, some way, but we should mention Craig Doman, his son, JoJo Doman, out of Nebraska. Guy plays with his hair on fire, linebacker, special team dynamo. He has a good chance to hear his name called somewhere in the early to mid rounds. But what are your draft plans, Coach, for the upcoming week? Are you tapped in? Are you keeping tabs on anybody?
Well, I always follow what the heck the Browns are going to do, and they've made some interesting moves this offseason. We'll see. I know they still have some needs and probably something up their sleeve here. I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe do something unexpected. They've been doing some interesting things, as I've said. And, so the draft and Rick, I do have college baseball this weekend too. So Got a freshman son who's if Bob knows if he texts me on Saturday, he always follows up with "You're at baseball, aren't you?"
Nice, nice. Good times. It's a good time of
Yeah.
year. And you mentioned Cleveland. The draft was actually in Cleveland last year. And your old stomping grounds, Coach Wiley, your former compadre. I saw Coach Hugh Jackson recently got the Grambling State head coaching job. Any thoughts there with the HBCU? We're seeing guys like Deion Sanders and Eddie George now, and Hugh Jackson taking these head coaching jobs at the HBCU level.
I think those young players are going to learn a lot from Hugh Jackson. Okay, really. Hugh Jackson, when I was involved in that offense and we were in Oakland, okay, it was tremendous to watch how it worked. We broke 9 Oakland Raider offensive records. Okay, we were the second most productive offense in the history of the Oakland Raiders. Okay, and so what he teaches and how he teaches it, right? It really is quite interesting, and it does work when you have the right guys in the right spots, like any other offense. Okay, and I think the kids, especially the quarterbacks, okay, are going to learn a lot from you down there in Grambling. Okay, and he'll be a good recruiter. He'll be able to recruit down there and get the kids that he needs. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, but it'll happen. It'll get better. Okay, and he'll find a quarterback to make it all fit. Okay, I remember one year we were at the Browns. This is ancient history. Okay, but we were at the Browns one year, and we didn't have a quarterback that ever won a football game in the National Football League on a starting 53, on a 53-man roster. Excuse me. Okay, I mean, how do you let that happen in pro football is beyond me. Okay, and so, you know, he walks by my office one day and I said, Coach, all right, and he comes in. I said, well, we don't have a guy that's ever won a game in the league. How we good? He says, don't worry about it. Just keep coaching. Coach him. Don't worry about it. Don't this coach the line. Don't worry about it. In and out. Okay, so okay. You know what I mean? But that, you know, I've been around the game a long time. With Jimmy McNally, me and Jimmy go back to 1975 when I first met Jimmy. That's the relationship that we have. You know, we talk about it. I said, how do you do that when you don't have those type of guys, you know, pulling the trigger? Okay, that was one of the most unique experiences I've ever had as a football coach in my entire career. You know, all the way up the level. You know, some of my best coaching was done in Pop Warner because when you break the huddle, you don't know where the defense is going to be, and you don't know where your guys are going to go once they leave the line. Right? So, you know, when you get the number 1 draft picks and 3rd round picks, and you get Joe Thomas and Joe Batonio and Jason Tripp, you get those guys together. It's easy to coach those guys. Those guys are easy to coach. Okay, you know, so you know this whole profession. You know, you asked me about Coach Jackson and things. You know, yeah, he'll do well. He really will. Okay, uh, you know, sometimes when you sit in the head seat, okay, it stops with you. Okay, if some of the stuff stops with you, you have no control of none. Okay, which really makes it quite difficult to get where you want to be because you can't control some of the other stuff. All right, so that's you know some guys. I think the most success you have, Laura, is the guys that sit in those head coaching seats that can make the decisions uh, like who we're going to keep and who we're going to cut. Okay, if you've got the ability to do that and you're an NFL head football coach, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be successful. If somebody else is making those decisions for you, okay, it's going to be really tough to win. It really is. You know what I mean? So when they sit down and they put their contracts together, okay, you better have. So some guys don't get both of them. Some guys don't get any of them. But you got to have at least one of them. You know,
No, it's an interesting point because you're seeing too nowadays. Sometimes the head coach gets hired before the GM, and then the head coach brings the GM on, and they make those decisions.
A great story about that. We drafted John Lynch when I was at Tampa Bay. Matter of fact, I was Sam Weiss was the head coach, and Sam goes, get John Lynch on the phone. All right, you talk to him. Okay, all right. So I'm talking to John on the phone. about, hey, look, we're going to take you to the next pick if you tell me that you're not going to play baseball, because he could have went to play baseball. You know what I mean? And John said, no, coach, I want to play football. So I said, Sam, he wants to play. And I said, he wants to play football. So we drafted John. So we're going to fast forward. I'm coaching in the NFLPA game, not this past one year before. Okay, and John's at the thing, right? And I said, John, you took the GM job. How did that all occur in San Francisco? He said, well, Kyle called me, right, and asked me if I was interested in being a GM. And he said, like, I don't know. I don't really think I'm going to be interested in doing this. He said, and we left the conversation like that. And 3 days later, he said, I thought about it, and I thought about it. I talked to my wife. I thought about it, and he says, yeah, I'd like to do that. Okay. So then he calls Kyle back. He said, hey, you still looking for a GM? You still have the seat open? Kyle goes, yeah. He says, I'd like to talk to you about taking that seat. And then they hired John as the GM there. Okay. And that combination, okay, works out for them. Okay. Because I believe that Kyle he picks him and he cuts him. Okay. But his working relationship with John is really good. Okay. And that makes them successful. Okay. So
I think you almost have to be connected in today's NFL to have some success here. And we're talking to Coach Bob Wiley, Coach Keith Grabowski, winding down here. Just a couple more questions, Coach, because you did bring up the Oakland Raiders, your time with Hugh Jackson there. Football losing a really great one in the Mad Bomber, Darryl LaMonica. Did you happen to cross paths with the Mad Bomber at all during your coaching days?
No, I crossed paths with a lot of guys that work in the organization. You know, Willie Brown, there was Jim Otto that works there. There's a lot of guys that former Raiders that work for the Raiders that Mr. Davis took care of after their careers were over. Mr. Davis is really a wonderful man at doing that. Okay, and so, but I never come across Darryl Monica. You know, now I tell you about people passing. I made a list probably 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and of all the offensive line coaches that were in the NFL when I first got involved with the National Football League way back when Jimmy first got the job at the Bengals. I used to go help Jimmy in training camps and stuff. And from that time to today, 16 of those guys have passed away. Like this sport makes it hard on you now, guys. But 16 of those guys, and some of my good friend Alex Gibbs, Howard Mudd, Joe Bugle. Joe Bugle offered me 2 jobs. You know what I mean? Now Howard, you know, I had breakfast, you know, because I live in an area where I had access to Howard. We would have breakfast every Tuesday, like in the off season and stuff. Or, you know, and those type of things. Jimmy, I still talk to Jimmy like once or twice a week. All right, Jimmy used to wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd be getting out of bed. He said, "Okay, now stand up, put your right foot back," you know, and I'd be standing there in my underwear in the bedroom, and right would be going, "What are you doing?" And I got the phone in my ear, right? And he says, "Now make sure that your right knee is going down the field if you're the right time. Now move that foot on this angle," and I'm doing it in the bedroom, okay, on the phone. I mean, so that's, you know, things of that nature that really you're talking about details. You're talking about a passion for the game. I think you have to do that. You've got to go through that process of inquiring as much knowledge as you can, and you got to have the thought processes that you don't know it. You still have to learn it. You know what I mean? Every time you walk into the classroom, you know the art of teaching a new skill, right? I'm still learning how to do that. Okay, and I've been around it a long time. You know, and I still call up guys. Hey, what are you going to do when you get this? Or what are you going to do when you do that? And they call me. And that offensive line coaches are a unique breed because you can call them and they're going to call you back. Right? You call them and they will call you back. You text them, they'll text you back. You email them, they'll email you back.
Well,
Okay?
they're mushrooms, right, Coach? For the
They're
people that
mushrooms,
don't know
right?
the story behind that, the Cool Clinic, the
Right.
mushroom. Tell the folks at home.
But there's a lot of guys that you call, they don't ever return your call. Okay, but the offensive line coaches, they're going to find a way to get back to you. May not be right away, maybe the next day and a day later, but they will get back to you.
Well, hey, this has been great. We're winding down here with Coach Bob Wiley, Coach Keith Grabowski. Coach, if you can hit them with the website one more time, it's May 19th through the 21st. It's going to be a virtual experience again. Looks like 50 plus speakers. I mean, the best of the best. If you want to learn about the intricacies of offensive line play, I had a great opportunity. I tell the story. Coach Wiley doesn't know this. I tell the story all the time. At that NFLPA Bowl, I got stuck between Coach Wiley and Coach Jackie Slater, and just got a chance to listen to them exchange some stories. And I probably learned more in that hour or two listening to those two men talk than my entire life combined. And so that's the kind of experience that you're going to get with the Cool Clinic, May 19th through the 21st. Coach Grabowski, one more time with the details.
Yeah, you definitely want to take advantage of this being live and being able to get your question answered. These guys stick around for after, and we set it up that, I think we put a half hour on the schedule, but those guys go as long as they need to. And that's cool2022.coachesclinic.com. We did set up a Twitter handle for the Cool Clinic as well. It's at the Cool Clinic. And, head over there to see not just the lineup, but also get some great content in short form from past clinics as well.
Yeah, it's the ultimate learning experience. Big shout out to all the chat room people. Good morning, Tom Goodhine, Senior Vice President of Hub Football. Big Law Lawrence Johnson, who'll be holding it down during draft week coverage. Longtime veteran scout Craig T. Smith in the chat room, who says, hey, I can listen to Coach Bob Wiley all day. I remember last year, Craig T. saying that he had a whole notebook full of notes after the Cool Clinic seminar was over. And Coach Wiley, I'm going to go over to you for one final parting shot. Anything you want to tell the listening audience at home about the upcoming Cool Clinic, May 19th through the 21st, or anything you want to get off your chest at all? There you see it at home, virtual 2022, all the heavy hitters. Last shot for the people here, Coach Wiley.
What I like to get across to everybody is I get this a lot when I talk to people is, well, they're full football players. They're full football coaches. It doesn't matter, guys. It really doesn't matter. Okay. You can learn. I did coming up through the ranks. It doesn't matter. You can learn what you want to learn if you want to learn it. Okay. That's up to you. Okay. And it's not that it's full football talk or it's major college football or it's none of that stuff. It's football, period. Right? You can learn it. You can adapt it. You can take bits and pieces of it. You don't have to install everything that everybody's saying. That's crazy. Nobody can do that. Okay? Just take a little slice of it. You may only learn one or two things that, hey, I can use this someplace. You know what I mean? I was very fortunate. About 3 weeks ago, I got to go down and interview with Baltimore. Okay? And I told John, okay, when I was talking to John, I said, Dante Scarnecchia's talk last year. Now, I've known Dante for 30 years, okay, right? Since he was like at SMU, years and years ago, okay, was one of the best football talks that I have ever heard in my entire career. And I said, John, right, you should take your whole staff, right, sit them down and let them listen to Dante on what it means to be an assistant football coach. Okay, you should do it. I think everybody that is listening to this, right, get your staff, get that talk from Dante, sit down and listen to it because it was one of the best ones that I have ever heard about what it takes to be an assistant football coach. All right, and you can see Dante choking up and the tears coming to his eyes at the end of the talk. Okay, it was absolutely fantastic. It was awesome. Okay.
Yeah, one of the best there
you,
is,
you
and for you to
get
say
those
that
things out of the clinic, right? You're ahead of the game.
No, it's the ultimate team coaching experience, and I know Coach Grabowski will have a bundle package if a coach wants to get the whole seminar for the entire coaching staff. He'll have that available May 19th through the 21st. Another enlightening conversation with Coach Bob Wiley. He does it again here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Of course, Coach Keith Grabowski, Coach and Coordinator podcast. Make sure you go download that today. And that's incredible that, Coach Wiley gave you some busy work with all those DVDs now, but now the whole world is going to be smarter for having access to all that information and seminars. So, Coach Grabowski, parting shots here before we wrap things up.
No, again, just take advantage of the opportunities to learn. And as I said before, these guys are going to give. That's the best part of being on this one live. I know you could sit down and watch this on demand. Great to have that to go back later, but you have the opportunity to sit with some of the best in the game and fire questions at them. And, they stay till all the questions are answered. I can tell you that. So cool 2022.coachesclinic.com and at the Cool Clinic on Twitter. I know you mentioned Coach Scarnecchia. There were a couple segments we shared just to promote the Cool Clinic. I'll put those links on at the Cool Clinic and at Coach K Grabowski on Twitter, so you can listen to those in the audio form as well.
Awesome. Perfect. We'll be in touch here. We'll try to pop you on again after the draft, before the Cool Clinic comes up. We'll chat up some updates. We'll talk some more war stories here with two of the best around, Coach Bob Wiley and Keith Grabowski. For Todd Summers of Villanova, Isaiah Likely of Coastal Carolina, I am Rick Saratella. This was the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated, presented by the NFL DraftBible.com. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. See you later, everybody. 2 more days.